Right, thank you. So, yes, we will go back to the running order on the agenda then. So, number 4 is a report around digital mobile update. Again, just to quickly outline in terms of my own sort of input from the office. You'll recall I did make some funding available a few years ago in what was called our own internal transformation fund, about £2 million, and it helped to buy the handheld mobile devices, for example. Also, the body-worn video that's been rolled out, and also looking at how, just generally, that digital upgrades can assist our officers to be more effective and efficient generally. So that's the backdrop to this report, but I'll now just pass on to you, Dee, just regarding the actual report itself.
Okay, so as you know, Commissioner, we come and give you a 6-monthly update on where we are with all things digital and mobile capabilities. We want to talk to you probably more about the handhelds today rather than necessarily the body-worn video devices, and just give you an update as to where we are, because as you're aware, we are in the process at the moment of looking to roll forward into a new iteration of the handhelds, and we're going to share with you where we're up to. Tim.
Yeah. Afternoon. Okay. Regarding the new handheld device development, so the new process we've had on Pronto, which is the digital notebook within the device. There are 2 new processes that have just come in, the biometric fingerprint search, and then we've had an upgrade to the contemporaneous interview, which we've had to bring in because of changes in the PACE legislation. There are 2 new apps that are just being tested and are about to be rolled out that are linked into the niche that will allow us to issue public protection notices to partners from the handheld devices, and then also there's some rework on our missing persons forms, and then there'll be an improved return interview available on the handheld there, so they're about to come out. And then we're just developing at the minute 3 further processes. One is about property, which will allow us to take property on the handheld then through to an internal system, so provide a seamless marking process on property, for want of a better phrase. Then we're looking at being able to put road traffic collisions on to the handheld devices, and that also will hopefully then link in with a new IT system on our sort of desktop devices. And then finally there's a custody application as well, which is intended for officers to pre-populate an app on the custody that will then feed into the niche system and speed up booking into custody, which, as you know, has been an issue for us as well. So those are the 3 reasons that they've been selected for the development. One of the processes that's been designed is about which is allowing us to automatically clean up data in terms of duplicates, which is quite exciting, because if you're in the data cleansing team, you get fed up with new nominals being created all the time. We've picked that up from another force, and we are looking at that as we move forward, and that's we're going to require a gazetteer upgrade in West Yorkshire Police, but that's going to allow us to cleanse data from the mobile devices. We are wanting to introduce the Note 8, which is the new device rather than Note 3, the Note 3, if I could say that, sorry, and we're going to get further enhancements, so it will allow us to give better Corvus Mobile in terms of people will be able to get briefing and tasking documents better on there. It allows an antisocial behaviour analytical tool, and it will give us some more enhanced mapping on the Storm system, allowing officer location and logs on there as well to be linked in. And then there'll be geographic alerts of intelligence and briefing items, so if you're walking around a certain ward area, it will automatically know what intelligence and briefing alerts to give you. So that's new functionality that's available on the new device. It will allow Calm to be transferred to your mobile device, so you can book on and off from that device. You won't have to do it from a desktop, and even you'll be able to book your annual leave as you walk around as well. But so some additional assistance for officers there. It will allow us to have a sat-nav for officers as well, so we won't need to purchase separate ones or use the in-vehicle ones. And then it will also allow external applications such as Twitter and Facebook, and that can be done from those devices as well. And obviously, as it's a newer device, it should have enhanced performance in terms of the speed of transactions and the memory available within it. So that's when we get the new Note 8 device. They're the main changes or updates regarding the handheld mobile devices. Body-worn video, we're obviously in a contract to them until October 2019, he says off the top of his head, certainly the end of 2019. We have had some software and hardware issues with the supplier, but we're managing to work with them, so that the imperative that I've set the team is that we continue to have a body-worn function for officers, and we are still managing that. I'm chairing a new project board which is overseeing the procurement of the next generation, so that we will procure a new system to take over when that contract expires, and we should be able to use a new national framework for procuring that, which will land in February 2019. So that's the body-worn video. We're in a bit of a holding pattern while we get into that new contract. And then finally, because this question I think has been asked by people about the biometric fingerprint app, just to confirm that we are testing enhancements to that application so that we will be able to secure some further information regarding that. So that will be the reason for the search, the self-defined ethnicity and the outcomes that I know Commissioner has been raised with you at various groups in the past. And I suppose that's the update for where we are at the minute, with the concern being that we're not able yet to fully roll out the Note 8 as we'd want to do.
Okay, I guess just on that then, in terms of the Note 8 and the upgrades, etc., what is the time frame on that?
I asked that very question because obviously the paper doesn't set a firm time scale. I'm unable to give you a date here and now as to what that is. I am assured it is early 2019, with then a 6-month rollout. There are some issues still to be overcome with the Note 8 devices, both in terms of some of the software issues that people have found when they've been piloting, because obviously we need to pilot the new device before we roll it out to iron out some of the issues. And I'm told that, and I wish I understood what an internet pipe increase from 100 megabytes to 1 gigabyte meant, but apparently there is going to be a change to the internet pipe which will assist in that new device rolling forward. I think, being honest though, there are delays that we weren't anticipating in terms of the rollout of the Note 8, and so it has been delayed further than we want it to be. But I'm assured early 2019.
So what we've been doing in the meantime as a contingency is looking very, very closely at who has been issued with the Note 3, and do they need to have that as a priority on their current role. So you can imagine there are several roles where from time to time you might use the Note 3 as opposed to every day. So we're prioritising all new officers, everybody who's coming into the organisation, to make sure that they have those Note 3s, rather than perhaps somebody who might be sitting in a custody suite as a sergeant or has moved role from one place to another.
And just to be clear, this isn't connected to the emergency services programme,
No, not at all.
which we know is way behind.
No, we're not talking a
Yeah.
delay in terms of years related to that. No.
Yeah.
It's more to do with how the new device connects into our existing pipework, rather than the actual piece of kit itself. That's how it's been explained to us.
And obviously, when they were first brought in, we had a Chief Inspector Ian Williams and a team sort of looking at the training and the rollout. Will there be a similar sort of support system, or do we expect officers to be much more au fait with technology and...
I don't think we'll need to be as prescriptive in the rollout as we were, but I think some people will naturally pick it up, and there is a self-build access to Android from memory. There is a self-build facility within it, but I still think some people, maybe more of my age, would need assistance in terms of using and building the device, so it will be a combination of the both.
Well, we'll take the good practice that worked from last time. So, for example, the availability of somebody who's a bit of a champion at various stations, so that you can go, they can be the go-to person on your lunch break or whatever, so that you can just double check that you are using the piece of equipment in the way that you need to. But I don't think it's going to require the same training from scratch, if you like, that we had to initiate last time.
Okay, I think you might have already touched on, I guess, one of the questions. I mean, obviously, there are lots of interdependencies across departments with the technology, and Operation Fusion, which is the internal change programme. Within that or outside of that, are there any sort of plans or contingencies which you might have already answered, Dee, regarding the further impact of any delays and development of these devices?
Well, I've got to be really frank here. Fusion and the reconfiguration of our digital policing team did have an impact, because obviously some members of the organisation chose to move on. And of course, at the same time, it's a new piece of technology that's coming into the organisation at a time when we are under a great deal of pressure within that team to try and look at several pieces of new technology, both locally and nationally. So the very fact that we've had to slow down that rollout has actually been a little bit helpful in some respects, because we can now reprofile and make sure that we've got the expertise in force that we need to be able to do this. Whereas I think perhaps 6 months ago we hadn't got necessarily all of the people that we would have wanted at that moment in time. So there is that kind of reconfiguration going on, and of course there's always this push-me-pull-you tension about how you are commissioning the pieces of work and which takes a priority over what. And my view is we need to focus on what the people of West Yorkshire need, with an eye on what's going on nationally, because you've already alluded to the fact that some of the national programmes are taking some considerable time, and we've got a here and now need. So that's how the work is now being prioritised.
Okay, thank you. And obviously with the increase in the apps, Tim, and the systems available to the handheld devices, is there any updates regarding current usage by officers, which obviously must be one of the measures that you keep an eye on?
Yeah, the highest level of usage we got to was in the summer, where we had more usage than we ever had before. We've had a bit of a connectivity issue that came out then, but usage has started to creep up again on the back of that. And equally, as we have more new recruits coming in who are better at using it and more used to using it, then usage goes up. Just to give you a couple of figures, the patrol officers who tend to be the people who use the device most frequently, 30% of them are using 80 minutes worth of data per shift. So, that's over an hour every shift by 30% of those officers. 60% of the officers put in over an hour, which is a sort of not a target but an aspiration of them. And on average, patrol officers input 50 minutes of data per month. So some of them are really using the device significantly. Some of them are getting there. The patrol tend to be those who use it the most, followed then by our neighbourhood policing colleagues. Operational support had a bit of a slow start, I think it's fair to say, but are beginning to embrace the device, and certainly the Collisions app will significantly increase their usage. I suppose one other figure, and that this impacts and helps our control rooms out, is that the force conducts 2,500 police national computer checks a day on mobile systems. So that's 5,000 radio calls saved a day from there and back to the control room. So that's a significant saving.
Yeah. I guess the underlying point for me is that as we reinvest into new technology, it's clearly just trying to make sure that colleagues are utilising the technology wherever possible. I accept that, you know, obviously you've got to have a balance between the physical activity of what a police officer does and the sort of then accessing and inputting stuff into a handheld mobile device, but clearly, you know, these are significant investments into new technology.
I think the fact that just about everybody on patrol is now using them. Almost everybody in neighbourhoods is now using them. Ops support, as Tim's already alluded to, is starting to increase. I see all that as being really, really positive. The figures that Tim was quoting there, we're almost up to an hour's worth of activity every day for our patrol teams to actually be engaged within that mobile device in one guise or another. My slight nervousness around all of this is that that's being considered by the Home Office at the moment as a real opportunity in terms of saving for forces. Well, what we're effectively doing is we're already there. So if, from an efficiency and productivity point of view, they come back to the force and say, we think actually there's some more money to be taken out of the system here for you, West Yorkshire Police, we will have to say, but actually we're already doing this. And we've already incorporated it as a saving already.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point, and as you know, we do get mixed messages from ministers on this because I think it's fair to say the Police Minister at our recent national joint summit of the Police and Crime Commissioners and Chief Constables, he felt that the police were already delivering on a lot of this, so perhaps the messages within government are not very clear, to say the least, around some of this agenda. But the Minister felt policing generally was already delivering, as you say, so we take some of those comments with a pinch of salt, I have to say, but clearly we need to do whatever we can to make the best use of technology. Tim, I know you've alluded to some of the ongoing sort of issues around the body worn. Could you just say a little bit more around the challenges and what the opportunities might be with the next generation of body worn cameras?
I think the first challenge is ensuring we have a suitable system on time so that there isn't a big gap between the end of the first contract and the start of the next. And that's one of the key responsibilities the Chief's given me, and I'm very clear on that. As I said earlier, I think the one parameter I've given the group who are looking at this is there is not a time when we are without body-worn video because it's become so essential to policing today. So another will be keeping the cost down and ensuring that we're getting value for money. We are, as I said earlier, hoping for the new national framework in February 2019. The old framework has only got a small select number of suppliers on, and so we're hoping for new suppliers on the new system, which will allow us some competition and hopefully some new technology, and then enable us to work out a contract where we hopefully will not see the issues that we've definitely had to deal with over the past few months with the existing ones. So there's some of the challenges. I think the opportunities technologically that we're starting to see are the potential to live stream. So we'll be able to see live streaming from the officer's body worn into the control room, so that we can do that in some of our in-car systems now. So the WatchGuard system you may have heard of, we can do that from a vehicle. There's now the potential to be able to do that from the body-worn device. Integrating all the devices together as well, so that you can get that evidential updates actually in the field is another one. Digital transfer, so that we'll be able to get this and then transfer it on through the system to CPS and to other third parties without having to download it onto a disk, which we have to do at the minute, so there are opportunities there. Getting better software and hardware that's more reliable, with a newer generation and a more established technology. Obviously we were one of the first to go big when we got the existing system, so with the benefit of learning from other people on that. A better solution for firearms officers. The device isn't 100% perfect for firearms officers, and we've had to adapt, and also then there's the opportunity for the covert system as well on the back of that. And then I suppose looking at the knowledge we've gained over the past 3 years and making the most of the new device as we bring it in, rather than having that big bang and learning as we went along. So genuinely, if we get the right device, I'm excited about the opportunity for a new device.
Okay, yeah, no, thanks for that. And certainly when I do speak to officers, it's normally very positive feedback around the fact that they've got the body-worn cameras. Are you confident, though, that officers are utilising the processes and procedures around when to switch on the cameras?
I can say that the deputy personally leads a daily campaign on ensuring that we use it properly, and I mean that genuinely, in that it's got leadership from the top. I think as I debrief more and more incidents now, the vast majority are now on body-worn video. It's now the exception that they're not, rather than, you know, initially there was maybe 50-50. So I'm confident that officers are using it more and more. And we are seeing positive results from that on behalf of the officers, and we've had some issues highlighted to us as well, which I think shows that it's being used in more and more instances.
I think, you know, it's not without its fallibilities. So you can genuinely think that you've switched it on and you haven't. Or you can be going to an incident or an event that actually doesn't warrant switching it on, and then as you arrive something completely different suddenly unfolds in front of you, and perhaps you haven't automatically thought to switch your body-worn video on. But what's becoming more and more apparent is officers and staff are defaulting to switching it on in any event. And of course that's been part of the challenge for us around battery life and indeed everything else, because that wasn't what we were thinking of or thinking about when we very first commissioned the service in the first place. I think in terms of one of the biggest opportunities is as we continue to be more and more proactive through neighbourhood policing, or indeed perhaps, for example, exercising stop and search powers, there's a perfectly good audit and scrutiny opportunity there to reassure the public, most importantly, that what we are doing is right and proportionate and fair.
Yeah, thanks. And just to clarify then, in terms of the download into this, is that more to do with the technology not being available at the courts, rather than the...
Yes, we cannot send that through CPS to the courts at the minute, and we're waiting for TWIF, which will allow us to do that hopefully March next year, but that's under some negotiation. That's not us under negotiation, that's the CPS and courts.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, that issue's been rumbling on for some time, so it is disappointing that the technology hasn't still been sorted at the CPS stroke court end of the system. And in one of my other roles as chair of the LCJB, it's something I do constantly push, but I will be pushing again as a result of this conversation. Thank you. I don't have any further questions on this report, unless you want to add anything else.
No, just you know, to reflect the fact that locally our CPS and courts are incredibly keen for that technology to be brought in.
Yes,
and of course we have been piloting a number of initiatives. I wouldn't want the local public to think that it's our CPS and courts locally that we're not able to support us.
No, you're right to clarify that within the criminal justice system they are perhaps just as frustrated as us sometimes regarding the national procurement and systems that are holding things up. So, no, thanks for that point. Okay, thank you for that report.